Good afternoon, everybody. Let me start by taking some questions. We are going to start with Willa King at Associated Press.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. You say that the current government is inefficient due to the partisan ties motivating the Republicans and Democrats into legislation. If you are elected president, how will you recalibrate the agenda to make it more efficient for the next 4 years?
In order to lead a successful and productive nation, we as politicians must govern on a policy based on common sense. Federal institutions such as the current public education system and the government drug policy need to be reformed. I believe there should be federal budget cuts, which will lead to less regulation and a less invasive government. This will hopefully lead to job creation and economic growth.
What are your plans for reform in our nation's current foreign policy?
I do believe the national defense needs intensive improvement. However, our troops' current presence in places such as Europe, Iraq, Afghanistan, and now Libya are unnecessary unless it's directly involving the U.S. interests. In the face of our huge budget deficit, we must focus on our domestic issues before intervening in international affairs.
You stated, I am not a social conservative in any way, shape, or form. If you do not believe in socially conservative beliefs, what is your stance on social issues?
It is true that I am not a social conservative, but I respect and understand socially conservative beliefs. Overall, the government should distance itself from social issues that increase political polarization, such as abortion. To accomplish this, the Roe v. Wade decision should be overturned. As for other social issues, I want to work towards the end of war on drugs in America. A great amount of crime in the United States is from the failure of drug prohibition. Drug prohibition promotes overdose deaths and gang violence. Many of my other views on social issues relate back to my main belief that the government should have less of prevalence in the daily life of citizens.
What about your plans for Obamacare? Do you agree with his current healthcare policy?
President Obama's Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act are unconstitutional, and I intend to repeal them if I'm in office. Additionally, I plan to repeal Bush's Medicare prescription program. Individuals should have control over their own healthcare decisions.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. A recent Gallup poll shows Americans are divided as to whether a third major party is needed today in U.S. politics. Why do you believe we need a third party?
My views about how to govern this nation do not lie in a certain category of being Republican or Democratic. I am focusing on many issues that both other candidates have not even brushed on. I am the only candidate advocating the elimination of income tax, corporate tax, abolitioning the IRS, and replacing that with one federal consumption act. Many of the issues I present, you won't hear from the other guys. And with that, no further questions.